Hi YouTubers, this has been my project since February, so I've been working on this quite a while. It's January 2018, and I just want to make this video to show you where the wiring harness will go and how everything hooks up. I went through a couple videos on YouTube in order to get it all hooked up and run right, and I got it. So now I want to take you through where the wires go, and without the plastics on, it's a little easier to see. So before I put all that stuff back on, I wanted to show you where everything goes. This is the ignition relay right here, and I don't know if you can see it, but those are the wires coming out of the back of it. Now this green wire here is an extra wire I added, and that's on the positive side. And what that does is that just basically runs along with the other wire. I didn't pull any wires out, but I was having issues with it not being able to fire up the actual relay here for the starter. This is a starter relay, and this is how this looks. Now most of these ATVs, this is a 2004 YFZ, and usually the plastics have the bucket in them for the battery, but this one here, it's for racing, so it's not going to have the battery in it. This is just to basically, it's a new engine and breaking it in and everything, so I'm using this initially, but I'm going to go to a kickstart. But anyway, this is how this one looks. It's the white connector, and this is the only fuse that you need. The other fuse that I have is blown out, and it goes in here. You get a spare fuse there. So I went through a couple of fuses wiring this up. So basically you got your positive coming in here to the far side, and then this one here goes down and it connects up to your starter. Let's see if I can see the starter right here. It goes down to sits on top of the starter right here, right there. This is on top of your starter. Now the negative is really close to it. The negative cable actually sits right here. That's the negative cable, and it runs from right to the battery, and that sits on that little where it has the hook for the clutch. It uses the same nut. You can see that very well, but that's where the negative goes. And that negative runs up behind there, and all the wire harness for the back runs behind this this rear piece of the ATV. And the negative one hooks up here, and then you have this small this also is that goes in the wiring harness, and this is like a negative lead coming off of the main lead for the negative. So you got your ignition here, that clicks first when you turn your key on. That you should hear that clicking, and then when you hold your clutch down, your clutch handle's held in, you hit the start button, this will start, this will activate, and you'll transfer the power from here to here and down into your starter, and your whole bike will start running if everything's right. Now this here has, this is kind of interesting the way this is. The front two leads here always have power, and the back two leads don't. They're used as a the switch that activates this relay for this power. And this right here is actually the negative, and this right here would be the positive, and it actually uses power from this relay in order to supply this side of the relay with power, which I believe comes from the front here. So it goes back and forth. It's kind of an interesting setup. But this right here is your ignition button, your start button, and this right here, this little blue wire right here coming into the back of this relay is actually from your clutch. And that one, the clutch wire works from this down here. You get this little wire harness, and it plugs in there, and that tells it when it's in neutral. It'll send a signal up, and you'll be able to fire, turn it on. It's a little safety thing. So if that's not a neutral and this wire isn't making a contact here, this wire runs up into here and through here into the front, and it hooks up into here. I don't know if you can see, there's a little thing, and it goes into this wire here. It's kind of bluish. I mean, it's the same color. Basically, when you're wiring this, what you want to do is you want to have the wires matching, like the wire color, which is really interesting. Now there's some wires coming off of the carburetor here. There's wires coming off the carb here, and up here you got these wires here. And what happens is they come out, you got like a 3-wire harness here, gray, and you'll notice that the wires are basically the same color. See, this one's a little lighter, but this one's a little darker, but they basically have the same you know, wire color. So you got to keep that in mind when you're plugging these things in, because all the 2-wire connectors, they can all be mismatched. This right here, this is a bypass for the carburetor. There's throttle or something like that. There's a bypass there. I'll have to look into it later, but it works with the bypass on it. And basically all it is like splicing these wires and tying them together. But I've seen a lot of videos where they're spliced together for some reason. It has something to do with the other thing. And then your brake, you got your brake. This is not connected yet. I think I'm gonna have to make up my own connector for my brake, because this is a racing bike, so it may have not had a brake on it before. But here's the rest of my brake wires and light wires. It looks like somebody probably had it for a different non-factory light, which is what I'm going to be running anyway. But anyway, here's the wiring harness. Then up here you got your stick coil, and you got your connector there for the stick. And then these videos are always good because you can look at the rest of the engine while I'm showing you something else to see if there's something that you need to have maybe connected up. Like this right here was kind of confusing because it's basically a vent that goes from here up through around the back, and then it hooks into the top here. And I tried doing that with a hard hose, but it didn't work too well because you can't fit your tank in, so I had to buy, you know, the basic Yamaha version of their little hose here, because it's actually formed. It's a real light formed hose. But anyway, your wiring harness runs along here under the tank. You can't go on top of here, and it can't be inside of here because your tank's going to be in the way. So it has to be kind of hooked up around this tube right here. And then it comes around. You got your lights here, and your lights use like a 3-piece connector here. So those are pretty easy to see. But this the magneto here comes out of the bottom here, and I don't have this all attached to the bike yet. But this is a long cable, and I had this hooked up wrong the first time, and it didn't seem to matter. But these are the cables coming from the magneto, and they come up and they go to the front here. And in the front you got this big like section of cable here that is like the main section of cabling to the front, and these are where your magnetos go. And you can see where this is the magneto wire coming in somewhere in the front harness is the same wire connectors here. And then for the other side of the magneto, you can see how the wires match also. So it's like, it seems like this is a little more of a different shade of red, but basically it's red and white and white, and the wires match together. Now this one here is for this thing. This is what charges your battery right here. But from what I understand is you got to have your lights on in order for it to know to charge the battery. So that's where that goes. And then let's see here, you got some other stuff here. You got this thing goes into here. And that is your, that looks like your, this comes, these wires here come off the clutch handle. So the clutch handle runs down, and you got your blue wire going into one of the, I think the clutch wire has a male, and then the clutch itself has the female connector, and then it comes up through the clutch and then down around, and it comes out here. And what you got is this yellow black, and that goes into here. And it's all done so it, like on this particular thing, you have male and females here, so you can't connect them wrong. And you can probably just override that if you wanted to. I like to keep the safety stuff. And then here's your CDI and your computer here. And that's how that looks, and that hooks in here. And it sits on a post, and you got this little plasticky thing, rubbery thing there. And then this of course is my this goes to the throttle. So I don't have that hooked up right now. I just got it fired up the other day. So there's your throttle. That is a safety on the throttle in case your throttle cable breaks. But just for just to bypass that, to get it fired up and kind of reduce some of the possibility of any kind of problems, I just jumped that. But that would plug in here, and then if your cable broke, it would stall out and die. And I'm not sure how to hook this up. I haven't gotten that far yet, but that'll be next. And then let me see here. You got those, and then over here you got your ignition key. And it's really important that when you get done trying to run your bike or running your bike or whatever, this has to turn off. You have to turn this off every time you're done using your bike. This will cause some kind of problems with this bike. So make sure you turn this off whenever you're done using it. Don't just turn the off button on. Make sure you turn your key off. And that's how the key goes. And then that's the other light. Got your light here. And then that's the connector for the upper radiator. And then here's the other connector for the other side. That's the other side. Now let's get this out of the way. Anybody looking to see how this wire harness goes, I hope this is helpful for you. Right there. Right there. And then there's a wire that comes from the fan. It comes from the top of the fan. Comes up through here. And I don't know if this is actually I got this taped down here, but this wire from the top of the fan here, this goes in the back here, and these are just vent tubes. There's a vent tube here, and there's another one somewhere for the fan. And then that one, let's see if I can find that for you. But that one connects to here. So this is the fan for the radiator. That's where this plugs in. This is the plug for it. And I've got something else attached to the fan also. There's like a connector to go somewhere else, I think, so somebody can manually turn the fan on. This fan works really good. I had it running. I was breaking in the engine the other day, and the fans turned on and everything worked real nice. I actually didn't turn the headlights on, but I'm pretty sure they work. But yeah, that's the wiring harness. That's the extent of it. That's what it would look like.